It had been a while that we introduced a show and just did our show links from inside the cabin of a car, driving it. And I thought it'll be a nice change now. So you find me driving a car, and it's very opportune that I'm driving a BMW because the show we are starting is that with a BMW product. Welcome viewers, you're watching Pitstop, and from behind the wheel of the BMW X5, about which we are going to talk in one of our future episodes, I bring you the new generation rather, BMW 3 Series. Now that is the story that we're going to begin this show with. As BMW loyalists would know, BMW went away from the E nomenclature in their platforms and then introduced the F, which was the last generation, and now it has introduced G as the code for their platform. So this is the G23 series. It's specifically the 320 diesel. I have also driven the 330i briefly, which is a petrol model. It is fantastic, that engine, but the 320 diesel is also pretty impressive. It's very trusty. It's quite potent as well, as you'll find out. So this is my drive and my experience with the new 3 Series, the 320 diesel. Take a look. I consider myself quite lucky because I've driven a lot of generations of the BMW 3 Series, right from the E36 to the 46 to the E90, the S30, and now finally we have the G20 here with us. This is an all-new platform. But while every 3 Series before this has looked like it's a great departure from its previous generation model, this one I'm not very sure whether it looks like it's a great departure or whether it's a huge improvement over the F30. Yes, it does move the game forward, but probably the magnitude is not all that great. It still drives pretty well, and it still can plaster a reasonable smile on your face. So how big is that smile? That's what we are going to find out. The first thing that I want to get off my chest is the fact that I'm not a big fan of BMW moving away from the E nomenclature for the platforms. The G20 is a very weird name for a platform when you have grown up listening to BMW utilizing E as that letter for all its platforms. And it had a little bit of majesty to it, the E30, the E36, the E46. In fact, the E46 is one of my absolute favorites across all the generations of the BMW 3 Series. Yes, the E36 and the E30 have probably a little greater pedigree to them, the E30 specifically. So the E46, I have driven not the M models, but the E46 regular was such a charming machine. It did everything in such a nice manner. It felt so connected at every RPM level. With every gear shift, you felt like the car was trying to be your best friend. And as the generations have moved forward, that element of connection and that emotion that the car brings out in you, that has been getting a little diluted. The cars have been actually getting a lot better with the time because there are greater levels of electronics, and the technology has just been insane, and the development and the rate at which all that gets executed in a new product is just absolutely magnificent. That does not take away from the fact that analog had its own charm, own appeal. But I'm not really going to go on and romanticize my time with the analog BMW 3 Series. because it is time for us to look ahead, look forward, and what we have right now, the G20 diesel, is a machine that is for the present and possibly a little bit in the future as well, because this is going to pave way for probably some sort of enhanced electric interference or electric assistance in the drivetrain as well. The F30, the car that was the predecessor to the G20, that was also a very nice and pleasant product. But while the F30 was a great design execution, which was very different from what we had before it, the G20 does not really look like it's grown in terms of outright aesthetics and design. It feels like it's the F that just grew, and yeah, I think it somehow does not have that quintessential, unique appeal that every 3 Series before this has had. So the G20 feels like a little bit of a facelift from the F30 that it replaces, but otherwise it's actually a very, very familiar product. It's not too bad to drive as well. The cabin also, yes, there are a couple of big screens that you get right here in the center console and also right in front of you in the instrument binnacle. So all that is very fitting for the times that we live in now, because every new product is going digital in a really, really big way, and the driving experience is also becoming very digital. It's also, while being very digital, is also getting very anesthetic. So that thankfully is not the case with the BMWs. Every new BMW that comes out still gives you a sense of connection, and that really is a novelty, if I may, in the times that we live in now. With a 320 diesel, what I'm really glad about is the fact that this does not come with the M Sport body kit. Well, the body kit itself is extremely handsome, and the 330i that we probably will show you in one of our future episodes looks very good. The interior, especially the steering wheel, it just is a bit too thick, and the rim is something that feels very odd in your hands. With the 320 diesel, that's not the case. It's a very nice and appropriately sized steering wheel. The rim thickness is just so, and that really is one big reason that enhances your driving experience. The engine, it's a regular tried and tested 2-liter diesel. It produces about 190 horsepower and 400 Newton meter of torque. The G20 is not a very heavy car, but still on slightly heavier side. And the 0 to 100 sprint time, Mercedes territory, is about, I think, 6.5 seconds. BMW claims it's about 6.8 seconds. So the ballparks are pretty similar. And the 320 is never going to make you feel that you need any more power, because you have the torque available from very low RPMs. So yes, in terms of outright performance, the BMW matches the competition, probably even better than in some respects, because the driving dynamics and the involvement is slightly higher. It gets 4 driving modes, so you get Comfort, you get Eco Pro, you get Sport and Sport Plus. Comfort is possibly that one setting which is all the setting that you need. You can really have some decent amount of fun. Eco Pro just dulls down everything. It just gets itself in this green zone, and yeah, I mean, that's something that is for the eco-mentalists. Sport and Sport Plus are, of course, big grin-forming modes to be in. But really, if you want to enjoy, even when you are going around some very nice tight bends or something like that, Comfort is actually going to give you a decent amount of feel, because you can feel the car just buckling around a little bit, and that feels like it's talking to you. in the sport mode and the sport plus specifically, it just becomes too hard, and it robs you of the true essence of driving. So the comfort actually for me is a very good mode to be in. Not very noticeably sharper from before or compared to the last generation, but the chassis has been updated. There is new technology. The damper technology is new. There is stiffer body structure. Suspension mountings are different. You have a wider track. So it all just adds to the stability, and the center of gravity is low. The car still has a 50-50 weight distribution. So all that is just an effort to make sure that the 3 Series feels like it wants to be driven hard, and it has that sportiness, that edginess that every 3 Series before this has had. And while it is a little disconnected experience overall, it's genuinely not all that bad. That's all.